Hey guys, it's Abby here. We had this L1800 Mainboard sent in to us for a repair. I'm checking here. The first thing on the back is their F1 fuse. It's on the back of this L1800 Mainboard. You can find it by looking for a black square, and then you'll see the F1 written next to it. So the problem with their printer or their mainboard was that it wasn't turning on. So usually with that, it's going to be the MOSFET transistors, but I still wanted to go ahead and check the F1 fuse. So we'll turn on our meter, and I tested the F1 fuse, and I still got a reading on it. So the F1 fuse was okay. So we'll go ahead and turn it around, and we will check the MOSFET transistors here now. So this is the customer's mainboard, and we're checking it by going with the first, skipping over to the third transistor, and we're going to measure it by the first pins on the 1 and 3rd, second pins, third pins, and then move to the second transistor and the last transistor and measure those pins again. And I'll do a little drawing later in the video to show you better, and then we'll compare it with one of our test main boards to see. So I'm taking out our good main board on our test printer for the L1800, and I'm going to put in the customer's main board just to see if it will power on in our printer, so I can test to see if it's their MOSFET transistors, and we'll go ahead and compare what the readings were for a working main board, as in like our test main board, to compare. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and draw out a picture for you so you can better see how to actually do a test reading with the meter on the main board. Go ahead and plug in the back cables and power it on in the back, and turn it around to the front, and we'll go ahead and try to power it on. When I put in the customer's main board and powered it on, we couldn't power it on. So for me, that tells me that it's still the MOSFET transistors that is messing up their main board. So here we have the customer's main board, and I have the drawing out here. So you see there's that first transistor, the small one we skip, there's that second one, and then the third one. So we're going to the third and the first transistor, and that's what we're going to measure first. So skip that one, and we're going to go to the third one. So the first transistor and the third transistor, that first pin you want to touch and get a measure on, and it's 42, and that's good. And then we're going to go to that second pin on the first and third meter, and then we'll go to the third pin on the first and third meter. And we'll see that the problem here is the I don't know if I should get too ahead of myself, but we'll see here that now we're going to the second and fourth transistors. So the first pin on the second and fourth transistor is what we're measuring now. And so you see here with that one, we only have 0.2, 0.3. It's not measuring as high as we were getting on those first transistors, and the first transistor and the third transistor. we were getting 42.9, and around in that 42 range is what we were looking for. So we can see here with that second and fourth transistor is not reaching what it should. So to check that that's the problem, you'll see here that lower one I'm testing right now is our BCH test main board, and here again we have 42 as our first pin on the second and fourth, and I'm testing that now, and we get 42 again. So that's where we have our discrepancy here. On the customer's main board is their second and fourth transistor is not reaching that 42. So I went ahead and I replaced their MOSFET transistors with new ones, and now I'm going ahead and plugging back in the customer's main board with the new MOSFET transistors that I replaced. And we're going to go ahead, screw it down in the main board, and we'll go ahead and plug in all of the cables and FFC cables, wires, and we'll test it and see if that fixed the problem. If it's too hard to follow along with where I'm putting the cables, the wires, Kevin does have a worksheet that explains where to put, how to hook up the main board with all the wires and FFC cables, so you can also find that. You may also notice that I removed that large gray like paper feed behind this area to reach better. You can do that, it's pretty easy. There's just some screws over on that motor side on the right and left. You can do those, and then there's two metal hooks that hold on through the rail. You just have to unscrew those through the front. So you can take that off to be easier, and then you can just put that back on whenever you want to test it, I guess. So we're wanting to plug everything up into the back, our power cables, just everything to the main board, and then we're going to turn on that red switch in the back, and we'll flip it to the front and power on. And now we see that with the new MOSFET transistors, we have the printer turning on and working again. So we hope you enjoyed this video. You can visit us at bchtechnologies.com or visit us locally in Greensboro, North Carolina. Happy printing, everyone!